winning, that means you're feeling the vibe. The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope soul, sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. That like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the MBK, born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady, where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't stop.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't stop.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't stop.
What?
Don't stop.
What?
Don't stop.
Where you at? Where you at?
Good morning, Knicks family. Welcome to the morning recap show. We got a lot to break down today. Let me know how my sound is doing. The Knicks lost their third straight last night at Madison Square Garden to Atlanta, 199 to 112. Listen, before the season, we looked at these games, the first 10 games of the season. We knew it was going to be tough. We wanted the Knicks to beat the teams they were supposed to beat, be competitive, right? Offer some resistance, be in the games that on paper, you're not as good as, and try to steal a few. The Knicks did not do that. So it's not necessarily that they lost, right? You can argue they lost to the teams they were supposed to lose to, but it was how they lost. And we're about to get into it. Shout out to the chat. Those that's going to be watching later, I appreciate you as well. I appreciate all the comments as well. I need to do a better job getting to them quickly. I think I'm up to date so far. So shout out to those who are up with me this morning. Tim Smith, JJ, Cool Kyle G. I appreciate you. You helped start this. I am Jarrell. We're on tonight. Dope Soul Sports Talk, Just Nicking It panel show, 9 o'clock. We've moved to Thursdays. Cormega, appreciate you. Ajay, hopefully you can make it tonight. Appreciate you too. Afro Jetty, Cash Out James, Louisiana Knicks, Paris Douglas, Stafford Dawn. Hopefully you'll be on tonight. D's World of Hoops, appreciate you. I believe you'll be on tonight. Today at noon. Let us know in the chat if that's the case. Let's just start briefly, with the setup before I get right into, my takes on the game. The Knicks came into the game 3-3, 500. The Hawks were 4-3. The Knicks were 5th in the standings. Atlanta was 8th. I'm sorry, I'm on location. I have my real small screen. I don't even want to get into offensive, defensive ratings. But the Knicks came in 13th in offensive rating, scoring 113.5 points per 100 possessions. Atlanta was 9th. The defensive rating for the Knicks were 15th, still in the top half of the league. I'm not sure how long it's going to stay there. This was coming in to the game. Atlanta, 24th. Not really a defensive juggernaut, right? The usual starters for the Knicks, I'm not sure when that's going to change, but I think it's going to change really soon. The starters for Atlanta was Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, their new acquisition from San Antonio, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and Clint Capella. All right. Let's, let's get into this, right? D's World, he confirmed 12 o'clock today. All right, so all right. Let's get into this. Like I said before, probably, at this, what are we, 3 and 4? When we went over the schedule, prior to the season, we probably said, 3 and 4. But like I said earlier, it's not that we're losing, it's how we're losing. The Knicks are not good offensively. The Knicks are not good defensively. They were poor in transition last night. They gave up 17 offensive rebounding. We knew this would not be a good shooting team, and it hasn't been. The Knicks shot 41% from the floor last night, 27% from the three-point line. You're just not going to win like that. The Knicks had a 23-point lead in the first half. It was dwindled down to 8 by halftime. I think DeJounte Murray and Trey Young went on their own pretty much scoring spree. Do I have it? I thought I had it here. Yeah. They combined for 28 of the Hawks' 36 second quarter points. And I think that's the difference to me in these games. If you want to win, we could talk about strategy, game plan, and we will. I'm going to get into Tibbs. I'm going to get into the front office a little later in the show. But for the successful teams, their best players show up. That's the bottom line. Their best players show up, and our best players have not. I mean, and you can argue that maybe they're not good enough, and you know what? That's something to consider. We'll talk about that um, as well. The Knicks had a 23-point second half, first half lead. By halftime, it had dwindled to 8. Before you know it, early in the third quarter, it had vanished like a fart in a dust storm. Next thing you know, we down 1. Next thing you know, we down 19. Next thing you know, we lose the game, by 13 points. There is enough blame to go around, right? But right now, we are not a very good team, and the potential is there. The potential is there. You can see it for quarters at a time, the ability to take to be up 9 going in the fourth quarter against Cleveland, to be up 23 points on Atlanta. The potential is there, but it's a game of runs. It's a game of runs. You up, the other team is not going to lay down. They're going to make their run. You got to bend and don't break. You have to make your run. But it all comes down to the Knicks just not having those guys. And I'm going to get into that. The Knicks were outscored 32-10 in the third quarter. The starting 5 got outscored by 30 points. Right? You have to be able to depend on your best players. RJ Barrett, 19 points on 18 shots. We all expected RJ Barrett to take a leap this season. Oh, most players take a leap, between their third and fourth season. In that fourth season, that's when they take. RJ Barrett looks the same right now. And I'm talking about right now. Listen, we're 7 games in. There's some frustration, at least on my part. Not necessarily, again, for the record, but for how we're looking. We're not looking good, right? And I'm not saying RJ Barrett, Randle, and Brunson won't get it together, won't look better down the line. But right now, RJ Barrett looks the same. I don't see any improvement in RJ Barrett's game. He's still a high volume, inefficient shooter that has difficulty finishing at the rim, off the dribble, hitting a three-point shot at a decent clip. Now, as of late, the three-point shot has been better. Let me see what it was. But it wasn't last night. 2 for 6. 33%, not too bad. But overall, I haven't seen much improvement for RJ Barrett. Now, he did have 5 assists last night. And I always thought that there was untapped potential, in terms of his playmaking skill. But he plays with such tunnel vision. Like, scoring is like so super important. We need it, don't get me wrong. But there's been ample opportunities for him to be less predictable, move the ball around, and he did that last night. He had 5 assists. I believe it was 4 of them in the first half. And I remember saying while I was watching the game, this is what I'm talking about, RJ. There is potential there as far as his playmaking, and we need to see it. I'm gonna get to Brunson and Randle, and then I'm gonna check in with the chat and see what you guys have to say. Brunson with 20 points for the game, very efficient, but he was scoreless in the third quarter. When the Hawks took control of the game, Brunson did not score 1 point. Right? So overall, Brunson has been good for us. Overall, he's filled fill the need of a point guard, but it has not been smooth sailing even for Brunson against these tougher teams. And one criticism that I have is that as the as we've played tougher competition, he's handling the ball less and Randall is handling the ball more, and that's a problem. That's a problem. Like one of the things, at least that I wanted to see, was that when Brunson gets here, he's going to handle the ball more. Randall's going to handle the ball less. He's not going to be in decision making um, situations. Hopefully that leads to less turnover. Hopefully that leads to more efficiency because he's in his power forward box, right? And we saw that, the first few games, Randall handled the ball, I don't know, let's say it was 70-30, but most of the time Brunson was handling the ball. Randall would bring it up some. Randall was having like one turnover. It's fine. Now we're playing tougher teams. Brunson is handling the ball less. Randall is handling the ball more. And I have to look at this game again because I know they're loading up on Brunson. They're putting tougher defenders on him. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he's welcoming Randall bringing the ball, up the court. But it's not a good look for us because what's happening? Randall is turning the ball over again. Randall is turning the ball over for no like unforced turnovers. You know, Randall, you could see some tweaks in his game, not taking as many threes, going to the basket, but there's some reversion. There's some reversion, and you have to wonder, has the clock struck 12, on Julius Randle. Like I said, handling the ball way too much. His turnovers are up. He's at his best, in my opinion, playing off the ball, being set up, make your move real quick. Don't be involved in facilitating. Obviously, if you double teamed, you pass out of the double team. That's just basketball, right? But all of the other stuff, I just need Julius Randle to bring it down. I feel like he's doing too much and not enough at the same time. Let me know in the chat if you feel like I'm being, you know, too critical of Randall or Brunson or RJ. But the team goes as your best players go. And right now, not saying for the future, right now, those three players against the good teams are not playing well. And you could say that's to be expected. But for me, like the Memphis game, the Knicks were right there. You know, uh, Memphis was the favorite. We were playing at Memphis. You expected them to win, but the Knicks were right there. They played well. They lost the game. That's what I want to see. Play well in Cleveland. You're going to lose to Cleveland. Play well. You're going to lose to Atlanta. Play well and lose, so that we can look there and say, you know what? I see the improvement. I see what we need to work on. And last game, we did it this way, and this game is looking a little better. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that. Let me check in with the chat. Spanish Harlem, appreciate you for rocking with me this morning. I don't blame Randall, but he has blamed the shit. Oh, no question about it. And I think that's what we do as fans. We want to put it on just the coach, just the players, or just a particular player. There's enough blame to go around between coaching, the players, and the front office. And we're gonna get to that. Um, Shout out Knicks Nation 112. JB is nothing but an expensive IQ. What we expected from JB is because Leon Rose created a void at the point guard to justify the JB trade. We can be losing with IQ and Deuce and save Dolan some money. You know what? You may not be too wrong about that. The front office, as most front office do, you have to set the direction for your team. The Knicks had ample opportunity to double down and make the decision that, you know, we we are going to prioritize development over winning, right? The Knicks are, the Knicks have some players like you think about Mitch and RJ. If the Knicks decide to go young, those two guys fit. If the Knicks decide to add to this team and try to make the playoffs and continue building from here, Mitch and RJ can go either way. The Knicks had that opportunity in the draft. They could have drafted at 14. The same trade they made for Doran to trade him to Detroit, they could have made that same trade and kept him on the Knicks. They could have went with Doran instead of extending Mitch. They could have went with IQ and instead of, signing Brunson, but they looked at the roster and they had to make a decision. And they decided that we're going to try to make the playoffs. We're going to see what we have in the off season. We're gonna, or during the season, if something arises, we're gonna try to make this team better step by step. They could have went either way. Knicks Nation 12. This is the way they decided um, to go. Um, Keith Turner, why y'all mad at the front office? Most Knicks fans were congratulating Leon Rose for not making the Donovan Mitchell trade. Get mad at them for that. Exactly. And listen, I understand why the Knicks didn't make it. Did I agree with it? Absolutely not. But I understood it. And, maybe Utah wasn't operating in good faith. So maybe, as much as they wanted to make the trade, Utah wasn't going to trade with them. Maybe that's how it went down. But you're absolutely right. There was a lot of Knicks fans, talking about, oh, our depth. Oh, this team is deep enough. This team is going to be good enough. The bottom line is this is a star-driven league. This is the bottom line. Whether it's Donovan Mitchell or down the line is somebody else, the Knicks are going to have to give up a little bit of their depth to get a star player in here, unless one develops from who we already have on this team, or unless we draft one. Right? At some point, you're going to have to get this, get one. Jay Boogie, appreciate you. Losing and blowing games are two different things, and that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not even that we're losing to these teams, it's how we are losing. Are different things. When we have a game in hand, we have to learn to close that game out enough of the blown victories. But how do you close it out? How do you close it out when your team is not a good defensive team, can't defend the perimeter or the three-point line? Teams can get whatever they want whenever they want it. How do you close it out when you can't score and you go into these scoring droughts? I think in the fourth quarter against Cleveland, 15 points. In the third quarter here, I believe 10 points. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. How do you close out games if you can't shoot? How do you close out games when your best players aren't showing up? Julius Randle had 3 points in the second half. 3 points, if I'm not mistaken. Brunson didn't score a point in the third quarter. RJ Barrett, 19 points on 18 shots, or 18 points and 9, whatever it was, inefficient. How do you close out games that way? Now, our bench was good. Our bench was good. They outscored the Atlanta bench 21-0 in the first half. But in the second half, Atlanta's bench, was better. But I agree with you, Jay Boogie. Losing it and getting blown out is two different things, but you got to have those players to close the game. And right now we don't. Will they get better as time goes on? I believe so. I believe so. JJ, winning what though? We're a team full of big contracts to players that didn't deserve it. Can't argue. I can't argue with that. But keep in mind, it's the job of the front office to project, right? That's the job of the front office, to project, to see ahead, to calculate, to play the percentages, right? You know, most front offices, most front offices don't wait until they have a huge sample size before they make signings, right? They project, they look at the money, they look at how the player is playing at this point, they look at what's available, and they make decisions. You know what? If we can get them at, this play at this price, that'll be good for us. we think he's going to be a star. I don't think this player is going to be a star, but he's cheap. We can always move the contract. These are the decisions the front office has to make. And right now, you're right, JJ. Doesn't look like though they were good decisions. Cash out James, Fournier needs to play overseas. Fournier is not playing well, but he's not the only one, but he's not playing well. And that's the thing. Part of Fournier being in that starting lineup was the shooting, right? We saw that from the beginning. We looked at the roster. We don't have enough shooting on this team. At least we have Fournier, right? Maybe his shooting um, justifies, his poor defense in that starting lineup. And up to this point, it has not. Changes have to um, be made. JJ, how long until RJ's contract is a mistake? Brian Willard, Knicks are no more than a playing team until they trade or draft a bona fide superstar. Paris Duggar, Obi went 74 minutes sitting between playing time. I hear you. Delfano Steele, it's frustrating to continually have a bad front office. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, no, no doubt about it. You know, Defensively, I mean, I went over this already. We're not a good defensive team. I don't care what um our offensive rating is. I don't care what our defensive opponent field goal percentage is. The Knicks are just not a good defensive team. And I said it, 3-point defense, perimeter defense. We can't shoot. I talked about the bench. Let's just get into the individual scoring leaders. Brunson, 20 points, 5 assists, 1 block, 50, yada, yada, yada. I already said Brunson didn't score a point in the third quarter. Barrett, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I talked about that. 19 points on 18 shots. Randle, 14 points. 14 points. Like, it's just not going to cut it. You know, Brunson, Barrett, and Randle play better. Maybe we win the game. But even if you lose, you could be like, okay, maybe Atlanta is a better team than us. They have a better players than we do. But I could see what we're trying to do. Nothing. 14 points, I believe 2 or 3 in the second half. Nick shot 41% from the field. 20. Like, you're just not going to win that way. Bogdanovich was out for Atlanta. Murray, 36 points, 9 assists, 6 steals. This was his own personal playground last night. Shot 52% from the field. And there is nobody. We have, well, Grimes maybe, Cam, maybe we could have put on Murray to try to slow him down. Grimes, his first game back, played, I don't know how many minutes Grimes played when the game, was over. And I'm okay with that for Grimes. Put him in, you know, a little slower. I get it. I get it. Him not playing um, a lot of minutes. Murray shooting the ball much better than I thought. He could shoot it, especially the three. But again, no resistance. When you have no resistance and you could play free and nobody is impeding your progress, nobody is putting their hands up to make things difficult, nobody is cutting off the driving lanes, you're going to have games like that. Hunter, 21 points, 3 rebounds, only shot 43 percent from the field. But offensively, he was stout. Young didn't shoot well, 17 points, did have 6 rebounds, 7 assists. They didn't shoot great, 41% from the field. They shot 35% from 3. Kudos to, IQ, 11 points, 16 rebounds. Obi had, I believe it was 12 points, hit 4 um, three-pointers, really gave us really good minutes, when he did play. I think he played 18 minutes. Randle only played 30 minutes, by the way. Obi played 18, put up 13 shots in those 18 minutes, but all of them, if not most of them, were in the flow of the game. Once again, Mitchell Robinson in foul trouble. Now, that first quarter, Mitchell Robinson was stout. 3 lobs, patrolling the paint. I'm not sure how many block shots he had, but just patrolling the paint, making it difficult for for Atlanta, and then the foul trouble. And you know, we can say, with Mitchell Robinson, that it's about, how he has to cover the piss poor perimeter defense, and it is true. But some of the fouls are just him being undisciplined as well. Some of it is just being undisciplined. So I need, those. I wish I can encapsulate or bottle up those games or periods or points of the game when Mitchell Robinson is all over the place. And just I just need to see that a bit more consistently. But again, he's not the only one that's inconsistent on this team. So I'm not banging on him. I'm just saying this is what I would like to see. When he plays like that, it's better for us. Obviously, we have Hartenstein, so it's not like he has to save himself. Just be disciplined. Give us 25 minutes. You know, um, Mitch. All right, let's see what the chat is saying before I get into the team spotlight. Shotgunner, Hunter is better than RJ. Right now, um, I can't argue with that. Paris Duggar, burying Sims is total malpractice. I don't think so. Listen, and we'll get into the coaching, and we'll get into the front office as well. Tom Thibodeau's philosophy is a 10-player rotation. And he's not the only one, right? 10-player rotation. He said him himself, it's hard to play 11 or 12 guys, right? Other coaches have different philosophies where they will give players spot minutes. I know Steve Kerr will do that at times, but Tibbs is not in the anomaly of having a 10-man rotation. And Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson are part of that 10, and right now Sims isn't. You know that can change. That can change, but Mitchell Robinson at this point gives us more, in my opinion, than Sims would, right? And I'm not starting Sim. I'm not playing Mitchell Robinson and Sims because even though Sims is a better defensive player than iHeart, he doesn't give us that offensive versatility, right? So I get it. Even Tibbs said McBride and Sims are deserving of minutes, but he plays 10. So I don't think it's malpractice that Sims is not there. He'll get his opportunity with an injury when both of those guys are in foul trouble. And I'm pretty sure he'll play um he'll play well. Um I am Jarrell. I'm better than RJ right now. I mean, he's still averaging what 17, 18, points a game. Um, but it's not just RJ. It's not just RJ. Um, Keith Turner, Eddie F. We need a wing, like we need Tina. I'm not sure what that you know, what that means. All right, let's talk about the team spotlight. Not even a player spotlight, the team spotlight. Um, and that's Tibbs and in the front office. You could put um what's his name? The other front office guy picture in here as well. His name, escapes me. So, at this point, and even prior to the season, right, there was a lot of calls for, Tibbs to be fired. A lot of focus on Tibbs, and I don't agree with everything Tibbs does, right? I, I'm my philosophy is spot minutes. His philosophy is not spot minutes, right? Every coach has their philosophy, and every coach has a right to their philosophy. Okay? And just because I disagree with their philosophy doesn't mean their philosophy is wrong. That's their philosophy, right? But I will say there are certain things I disagree with, there are certain things I don't understand, and there are certain things that I would do differently, right? I don't think Tom Thibodeau is going to see the end of his contract. but I'm not even sure the front office will see the end of their contract as well. If I'm James Dolan, right? If I'm James Dolan, the jury is still out on this front office. It's been hit or miss. We could talk about how poor the defense is, how poor the shooting is. Who constructed this roster? Who constructed this roster where you got a defensive player who can't shoot, or you got shooters who can't defend? It's a mixed match roster that right now is not good enough, right? And we could talk about Tom and how he's employing that roster and the different rotations and things that he can do better. And you are absolutely right. But I'm not gonna take the front office off the hook as well. They've been hit or miss throughout their entire tenure. And just because they've been better than the other trash front offices doesn't mean they've been great. They haven't been. You know, they decided to give that contract to Julius Randle. And all front offices have to do this. You don't know with 100% certainty when a player has a a good season if it will continue. You're betting that it will, right? When you pay RJ Barrett, kudos for them that they were able to sign RJ Barrett for much less than the max. Kudos for them that they were able to sign RJ Barrett to an incentive laden contract, right? But they had to project. And they were able to project and see this guy's not a max player. We're not going to give him a max contract. We're going to give him 107 million. And if he becomes an all-star or all defensive player, we'll pay him more. And those were the incentives. Kudos to them for that. That's what you got to do as a front office. You can't just wait and see it all play out and then decide what you're going to do, right? You got to project. And that's what and that's what, they did. They brought in Brunson, and we needed a point guard. I'm not going to bang on them, for that. But we could have had a point guard 2 seasons ago, in free agency, and don't tell me that they knew that LaMelo Ball was going to be injured. Yes, we did dodge a bullet, right? We did, but they didn't know he was going to be injured like this. So they've done some good things and some not so good things. The point I'm trying to make is if I'm James Dolan, if I fire Tibbs and I'm not sure about the front office, now I got to finish paying Tibbs. Now I got to bring in another coach, pay that coach. And then when your contract is up in the next year or two, and I decide to get rid of you and bring in another front office, they may not want the coach that you hired. So now I'm paying Tibbs. I'm paying the second coach that you hired. And now I'm paying the coach for the new front office. No. If I'm the owner, you have to be sure about this front office before you get rid of Tibbs. If you're not sure, get rid of all of them together, right? Because Tibbs has his flaws and so does the front office. Get rid of all of them together. If the Knicks fire Tibbs, then that's the handwriting is on the wall that they're keeping this front office. And I'm not sure that it's a good decision. This front office, in my opinion, is very conservative. This front office, in my opinion, is just doing a little something here, a little something there. But in the entire scheme of things, yes, we have assets. Thank you. Appreciate it. But at some point, what are you doing with the assets? What are you doing with the assets? Um, White Falcon, highest Steve Nash, highest. I'm not a big Steve Nash fan. I'm not a big Johnny Bryant fan. What has Johnny Bryant done? Everybody clamoring for Johnny Bryant. He couldn't even get to the second round of the Utah, interview. You know, if we're gonna bring in a new coach, let it be somebody young. Let it be one of these assistant coaches that's been toiling and putting in their time. JJ, I'm ready to start looking at college players from the 2023 draft. I mean, I think it's early. I don't listen. It's not a stretch that looking at our schedule, we thought the Knicks would be 3-4. It's not a stretch, but it's how they're doing it. That's the problem. Let's see. There has to be a change in that starting lineup. Will it even make a difference? You put Cam in the starting lineup, you're gonna get better defense, right? Is the offense gonna be that much better? I don't think so. Cam is at his best when he's driving to the basket. Cam is at his best on the catch and shoot. Cam is not on his best at his best when he puts the ball on. When he puts the ball on the floor, it's an adventure. And in the mid range is what I mean. But when he's going to the basket, he's good. When he a catch and shoot three and the flow of the game, he's good. So we have to see. I think it's too early to put Grimes in. He's just coming off an injury. You're gonna stick him in the starting lineup? I don't think so. You gotta earn your keep too. You gotta, we gotta see what you can do. Um, a la wise, I think firing Tibbs in the front office is a bit of an overreact. I'm not saying that they need to be fired right now. But what I'm saying is the jury is still out on the front office. They got their contract and Tibbs' contract, if I'm not mistaken, lines up, right? What I'm saying is you better be sure if you're going to fire Tibbs, be sure this is your front office, right? And if I'm Dolan, the jury is still out on the front office as well. So I'm not going to allow you to hire another coach when I'm not even sure I'm bringing you back. That's all I'm saying. But I'm not saying after 7 games that Tibbs or the front office needs to go. I'm just saying the jury is still out. Rebuild NYK. If your roster is not elite, you can expect them to be elite against it. We're not even asking the Knicks to be elite against superior talent, right? I mean, that's part of what I've been saying. But I need you to be respectable. If you're Julius Randle, who at one point was an all NBA player, even if it was for one season, you can't score more than 3 points in the second half. If you're Brunson, you can't score 1 point in the third quarter. Like, I'm not asking you to be elite. I'm asking you to be respectable. I'm asking you to go out and hit a shot. Lose the game, but lose the game fighting. Lose the game with some resistance. Lose the game, you know, going down fighting. That's all I'm asking. White Falcon 44, appreciate you. Randall does great with defenders around him. Am I right? Everybody on our team would do better with defenders around. I mean, what do you mean? Does he do better offensively? Does he do better overall? I'm not sure I understand that question. Rebuild, they played zone, they did. I think the Knicks scored 10 points against the zone. I think they scored 10 points against the zone. Jarrell, just firing the coach and not the front office is the same thing that killed the Giants. You have to clean house if you truly want something to change. Ajay Tibbs will be fired by Christmas. He very well may be. It's always the coach that takes the downfall. And I'm not saying that I agree with everything Tibbs does, but I don't think the construction of this roster is a good mix, and that's on the front office. And I don't think the front office should get a pass at all. Shagana, we passed on Garland, Poole, Hunter, Keldon Johnson for RJ. Queen, I'm sorry. If the 2019 draft was a duo, RJ would not go third. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Pudge Nice, Tibbs couldn't figure out a zone. I mean, part of it is probably on Tibbs, but part of it is on the players as well. Why do teams play a zone? Because you can't shoot. You've been playing against a zone since high school, right? You get into the middle, you get the ball, in the middle, you turn around, you shoot, you turn around when they draw in, once you get the ball in the middle, that's a weak spot. You spray it out to the shooters. If you got shooters that can't shoot, what are you going to do against a zone? They're playing the zone for a reason. The Knicks are not a good shooting team. Troy Vantel, I don't think this coach makes good adjustments. I agree with that. Afrojetti, once we seen the front office wanted Cam and Tibbs didn't want him and showed us he didn't want him, I knew it was a problem. I mean, listen, it's not uncommon for, a coach to want a player and the front office to not want to play it, or vice versa. That's not that's not uncommon. James Glass can't be the zone if you have no shooter. That's our main issue on offense. We can't make a run without the 3-point shot. We don't have elite ISO players, right? And this is where you have to have that guy, right? When you have that guy, it makes up for a multitude of ills. The defense wasn't great that night, but you had that guy. He was able to single-handedly win the game for you. The coach didn't make good decisions, but you had that guy, and he was able to win you the game. So now the spotlight is not on the coach. We don't have that guy. We have a deep team, but what does it matter if your three best players are not playing well? And I'm going to keep going back to that. You know, if you don't have that guy and you're spreading it out, whoever your best players are, they have to be good every night, at least two of them. White Falcon 44, forget shooting. Our defense is terrible without Cam out there. Trade for PG-13. I think PG-13 is a bit too old for this group. Actually, and that would be same old Knicks. I think the Knicks, if they're gonna bring in a star, it needs to be a young star, right? 25, 26. They don't come along that often though. Not an older star that's in their 30s. I just don't see that. And shout out to Tony Crow. We were going back and forth, him saying we need shooters. Let's bring in Buddy Hield. Let's bring in Carmelo because we need shooting. And I'm looking at him like, we need perimeter defense. But tomato, we need both. We need both. No matter which one you put first, we need both of them, and we need it fast. Yeah, Keith Turner. PG is way too old. We ain't running a retirement home. Dwayne Dennis, you guys talk down to the chat room year after year with your unwavering support for Tibbs and your takes to make the chat room feel like we're all talking foolishness. You guys talking out the side of your mouth. Listen, I'm not disrespecting the chat when it comes to Thibodeau. There's things about Thibodeau I don't like as well. But the bottom line is every coach has their philosophy and every coach is allowed to have their philosophy. So I'm not going to come in here and engage spot minutes for McBride and spot minutes for Sims when he's not a coach that believes in spot minutes, and he's not the only one, right? I'm not going to engage that. He has a right to have that philosophy that I have a 10-man rotation and I have situational players. When someone gets injured or anything happens, that may change. That's his philosophy. And he's not the only one that has that. So I'm not going to bang him on that. I've already said I don't see Tibbs being the coach of this team whenever we get into championship contention. And right now he could be dead because it looks like that's how long it's going to be, right? He's not a coach when it comes to in-game adjustment. That's not his thing. I peeped that in the Atlanta series 2 years ago, right? You know who Tibbs is. The front office knows who Tibbs is. You knew who Tibbs were as a front office when you hired him, right? When you hire a coach, you're hiring their philosophy. The Knicks tied themselves to Thibodeau and they doubled down. They had ample opportunity to get off of Tibbs. Now I'm not sure. The ownership may have something to say about that, right? But to me, I think the fan base goes off a bit too much as if we know. You can disagree. I disagree. You cannot understand. There's things I don't understand. You could say you want to do things different or you would do things different. I think that's all legitimate. But people, he's stupid. He don't know what he's doing. We're not operating with the same knowledge he's operating. We're looking from the outside. Can we at least acknowledge that? Like, you don't have to agree with him. I don't. But at least acknowledge that he knows the team better. At least say, I would do it different. Let's stop acting like we know what should be done. Let's stop acting like there's one decision that any coach should make in any particular situation 100% of the time, and he's not making that choice. At any point in the game, there's multiple decisions to be made, and you make that decision based on your philosophy, your knowledge of the team, and how you're reading what's going on. And these are the decisions that he's coming up with. Can you disagree with them? Absolutely. Do I disagree with them? I do. But I'm not going to sit there and act like I know everything that goes into the decision. And because he's not playing the people I want him to play, he's stupid. Because his philosophy is not spot minutes, he's stupid or he's an idiot because he's not doing it the way I would do it or the way I should be doing it. I mean, come on. I think we're thinking too highly of ourselves as well. You know, there has to be a middle ground here. He's who he is. I'm not going to criticize a chair for having four legs. I'm not going to criticize a leaf for being green. He's consistent. This is his philosophy. This is how he does it. If the front office has a problem with it, fire him. You know, so I'm not throwing Tibbs bail. I'm not covering from him. I'm not saying that the chat is off in their assessment. I'm just saying stop acting like you're an NBA coach. Yeah, you disagree, but stop acting like you know what should be done in those situations. That's all I'm saying. Thune got it. I don't know if I got that right. Tibbs is 13th all time in win percentage, but these couch coaches think they know more. You know, laughing out loud. I will put it. Cash out James Tibbs is not getting the best out of his players and roster. As a coach, you're supposed to identify your player's strength and make a playbook based on that to maximize their strength. I agree with that. Definitely, I agree with that. Ally Wise, agreed. And again, we're not saying we agree with everything Tibbs does. I'm not saying that. I can tell you right now what I would like to see. I would like to see guys in spot minutes, but I understand that's not his philosophy. And there's a lot of coaches that's not their philosophy. I would like to see, when a play is hot, let him bake a little bit longer. And he's gotten better with that over time. I definitely would like to see that. Close the game, mix up the closing lineup. And I get it. You want to have that closing lineup. You want them to have chemistry with each other, but who's playing well that game? Those are the players, that should close. That's what I think. There's things I don't understand. I don't understand why you putting RJ Barrett on Trey Young and John Morant. Yeah, because you want a little more length, you want a little more size. Come on. So I disagree. I disagree. But I'm not going to be respectful, like, oh, he's an idiot because he should do it this way. You're supposed to do it. There's no way you're supposed to do it. If you've ever coached, you know that. There's multiple decisions you can make in any given situation. Three different coaches in the same situation would make three different choices, right? You know, Paris Duggan, when a coach has all his players playing below their ability, he's not doing a decent job. Sometimes the players are just not decent players. Bottom line. Sometimes a player is just not a decent player. When a player is playing below their abilities, is that the coach's fault? How much of that fall on the player? How much of that is it Tom Thibodeau's fault that RJ Barrett and Randle are playing below their abilities right now? Was it Tibbs' fault when um, Randle had an all NBA season? Come on. I mean, come on. Let's be. We want to place blame. I get it. When you're hurt and you're frustrated and you're upset, one person has to take the blame. There's enough blame to go around in this um early season. And it's not all 15, Parish Duggar. Enough. Okay? Enough. Um Shotgun and Queen, how you feel about going after Cat? You was one of the first people I followed on that story a couple of years back. I think Cat is happy. I think he's happy. You know, he got Anthony Edwards. He has Rudy Gobert. He could play the power forward now. Doesn't have to worry about rebounding. He doesn't have to worry about playing the center position. I think he's happy. You know, um, and I'm not even sure we have enough to give up for Cat. And that was one of the things I was saying in the Donovan Mitchell trade. You start overvaluing players. Oh, let's see. They might become a star. Okay, but their value can also decline over time as well. You know, because you have to think about it. When a player is in their first or second year, you could dream about what they could be. Once you get to the third, fourth, fifth year, you pretty much know the puzzle is being filled in. And sometimes what you can get for that player is less than you could have got in year 1 or 2. You understand? And that's what makes being a front office personnel difficult. You got to project. You got to think. You know, a lot of us often feel, I don't want to give away this play. They can become a star. True. And now you're sitting here, as a front office, you can lose your job that way. You gambled and you gambled wrong. You gave away a play, you traded a play, he became a star, right? But it can happen the other way around as well. You can hold too long. Hold on to a player because you think they're going to become something while you're letting better players that you could trade for go by the wayside. And then that player winds up declining in value, right? And that's why the front offices get paid the big bucks to make these tough decisions. Knicks need Cam to start, at this point. Yeah, yeah. Embiid is the next guy. Bayside Jr., appreciate you. I hope the Sixers implode. No one on this roster is untouchable. Pick, send them out. Get me this guy. Listen, Embiid is a star, superstar, no doubt about it. I would just rather have a star that plays on the wing than a star that at the center position. That's just my preference. Um, that's just my preference. But listen, what you're gonna give up a lot for RJ back. This is what the problem was with a lot of the Knicks fans. Oh, we giving up too much. We giving up overvaluing our players, overvaluing our players. Trade off these players for a star. You're gonna take a step back. You're gonna take a step back. But it's harder to get a star in the door than it is to get another IQ, another Obi, another Randle, another RJ. You can get them guys. It's going to be hard to get a Donovan Mitchell. It's going to be hard to get an Embiid. It's going to be hard to get young, proven stars. And when you have that opportunity, you get them. And yes, you may take a step back because you're going to have to now build out your depth, but you got that guy in the building and he's young enough that you have years to make it happen. That's all I'm saying. Ajay, we didn't want to give up draft picks for Donovan Mitchell. I don't have faith in his front office ability to make a trade. I mean, there was some scuttlebutt about whether or not Utah ultimately wanted to trade with the Knicks, right? But let's just say they did. The issue was the draft compensation, right? The picks. Randle would have still been on this team. I don't know if that's a good thing right now. Randle would have still been on this team. Mitch would have still been on this team. Brunson would have still been on this team. Hartenstein would have still been on this team. Cam would have still been on this team. McBride and Sims would have still been on this team. Between RJ, Grimes, IQ, and Obi, 2 to 3 of those players would have been gone. I would think if it was RJ, you wouldn't have had to give up the other 3. But you would have still had enough. It was but you would have had less draft picks. Anyway, water under the bridge. However, it's going to come up again when you talk about a star. There's going to be the same issue, whether it's Donovan Mitchell, whether it's Embiid, whether it's going to be the same issue. You're going to have to give to get. Knicks Nation, Tibbs has done this from year 1. Play RJ and Knox minutes after 3 and 4 with Obi in year 3. We would have at least 1 star now. We stuck with a bunch of role players. I disagree, Knicks Nation 112. I disagree. I disagree with the idea that all players are equal. And if you give everybody the same amount of court time, if you give everybody the same amount of developmental energy, they're going to all develop into stars. No, some players are just better than others. Every player is not going to turn into a star with the same opportunity. There's nobody on this team that I feel would have been a star had they got more time. I just don't um I just don't think so. And I get it that you guys um disagree. Troy Vontal, hope I said that right. These players need to stop talking that we need to do better and start going out there acting on their play. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Um, I don't even want to go over the stats in the game. This is the biggest stat. The Knicks had a 23-point lead in the second half, went to 8 at halftime, down 1 quickly into the third quarter, then down 19, then lost by 13. That's the stat. Those are the stats of the game. Brunson with no points in the third quarter. Um, Randle with 2 or 3 in the second half. RJ 18 points on 19 shots. Those are the stats of the game. Kudos to our bench. Who played well. Right now, the Knicks are just not a good team. Right now. The Knicks go on a 3-game losing streak. We back here and we singing a different tune, right? But right now, the Knicks are not a um a good team. All right. And the train continues, right? Next stop, Philadelphia. As DJ Shuttle would say, all aboard. Right now, the Knicks are 3-4. Philly is struggling as well, 4-5. But let me tell you, the Knicks are turning into Team Tylenol. Teams get better when they play the Knicks. So I'm not going into that game thinking, oh, well, they're struggling as well. Nah, no. They have Embiid. They can get better real quick because the Knicks don't shoot well and they don't defend. Right now, the Knicks are 10th in the standings. Philadelphia is 5th. Knicks is 3-4 over their last 10 or 7. Well, nobody's played 10 games, right? 4-5. The Knicks, as of 11:30, the offensive and defensive ratings for both teams could have changed because I did this slide and teams were still playing, right? The Knicks was 15th at like 11:30 in defensive rating. They could be like 18 right now, you know. But Philly, is 5th in offensive rating as of 11:30 last night and 23rd in defensive rating. Can the Knicks capitalize off of that? The Knicks seem to be in self-check. Sometimes it's not even what the other team is doing. The Knicks just can't hit shots. I'm not sure what the start is. I would think there's going to be a change in our starting lineup going into the Philly game. I know Tibbs likes to give it 15, 20 games. But I really think Cam should be in the starting lineup. Fournier is not shooting that well. If he was shooting well and we need shooting, you could justify it a little bit. Right now, he's not. They're starting James Harden, who's playing better this season. Tyrese Maxey, who's having I don't want to say an all-star type season, but he's playing very well for them. Matisse Thybulle, this is who they started last game. Tobias Harris at power forward. Joel Embiid did not play the last game. They started PJ Tucker. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case tomorrow. We shall see. Brunson and Harden, it's going to be a problem. Fournier and Maxey, that's going to be a problem. RJ Barrett may be okay against Thybulle. Thybulle is a very good defensive player, though. But offensively, RJ Barrett should not have to extend a lot of energy on the defensive. And Julius Randle and Tobias Harris, which Julius Randle are we getting? Turnover Julius Randle? Julius Randle, who does very well now going to the basket, but can't finish a layup, like just throws it up at the rim? Which Julius Randle are we going to get against Philadelphia? You know, usually this is a good matchup. Who knows? Mitchell Robinson and Embiid and Tucker, there's been games when Mitchell Robinson has played Embiid very well. And then there's also been games where within, 4 minutes, Mitchell Robinson is on the bench in foul trouble. We shall see. But that game, I think that game is in Philadelphia. Yeah, that game is in Philadelphia on, on Friday. That's all I have. Tonight, 9 p.m., the Jess Nickens show, me, Jarrell, Staffer, the Bowling Chick, or Tsunami Jones, whichever name she's going by tonight, will be here to talk about a lot of these issues with a panel, right? So we'll get an opportunity to see what they have to say about this past 3 games, 4 games, 7 games. Friday, I'll be on Nothing But Knicks. The pregame shows usually around 3:30. And then I'll be back Saturday morning with the morning recap of the 76er game. I just want to shout out Baysider Jr., White Falcon, Geoff Clafter, Afro Jetty, Sports Guru. I appreciate you. I'm glad we got to see this team against some real competition. You're absolutely right. Cash Out, James Shotgunner, White Falcon, Rebuild, NYK, Ally Wise, Pudge Nice, Knicks Nation 112, J Boogie, Greenhouse, Parish Duggar, and anybody else, Angel Torres that I might have missed, Keith Turner, Jarrell, Stafford was in the building. Sometimes I forget. I don't know if I said Pudge Nice, Ajay. I appreciate all of you getting up early in the morning. I went 8:30 today. I needed more time to just kind of get my, my thoughts together. But I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button so you'll be notified anytime I go live. Appreciate you.
You tune in, that means you're feeling the vibe. The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope soul, sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. That like button would tell me where you at. Step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady, where she holding it down. No matter how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's her.
shine. Don't